Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinski, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show. The only podcast
ours is totally G-rated.
The only podcast I listen to is on serial killers.
Well, Hannah listens to like that, except it's drunk people talking about it.
Oh yeah, no, mine. I don't. Mine are very serious. Mine are very serious.
Wait, which one do you listen to now? With the
Bloody Murder.
Is that the cussing and the drinking one?
It's nothing to do with drinking.
I don't know if you heard all that.
I'm going to make sure I cut that out. All right. So we have Martha here with us this afternoon for our second interview. I just uploaded Jay's interview from how many months ago?
That one took a while.
June. It's part one, so that's going live today. And so we thought our second interview would be with one of our clients who is one of our master athletes. We just put out our podcast recently on training the master athlete, and that has quite a few downloads already. So people are they like that podcast a lot. I've gotten quite a few compliments.
So Martha, big shoes to fill.
Big shoes. Yeah. You're our first master athlete to be interviewed. So I think we just wanted to start off first with give us a brief history of your past training, or even
tell us what it is to be Martha.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am an all but retired cardiologist. I will be 70 at my next birthday. And
when is that? What day is that? When is your birthday? Because I know I had it on my calendar.
October 27th.
Oh,
nice.
Good. Coming up.
Yep, not too far away. And I have played sports and been athletic all my life. My main sport, I guess you would call it, has been running, which I started doing regularly when I was in my late 20s. And I have continued. I have run several marathons and a couple of races that barely qualify as ultra marathons, especially as I've gotten older. I've gotten slower, but with more endurance, and hope to continue doing so.
So just because this is, I guess, primarily a strength lifting audience, why don't you just detail a little bit more about what's involved in an ultra marathon?
Yes. Like
mile-wise.
Well,
I think people's brains might be about to melt.
An ultra marathon is any distance greater than a marathon, which is 26.2 miles. So there are distances from a 50 kilometer, which is a little over 30 miles, which I have done, to races which I haven't done, 50 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles.
Where do these races usually take place? Are they all over the country, or a specific?
They're all over the country.
They're all over.
They're all over the country. Yeah.
So and then the other thing is, if you're doing one of these ultra marathons, I guess it depends a lot on the distance. But what's the longest length of time you've ever been running in a race? Like, I know a guy who's done like some really long distances and runs through the night and all kinds of like.
For me, I think it was almost 10 hours.
Oh my goodness. That is a big commitment, Martha. That's a long time.
Yes.
How long ago was that? Was that, the last 10 hours?
That was November of 2019.
That was just, wait, what?
See, we're learning lots of things.
Wow. So we met you. You started training with us just after that.
Right after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what inspired you or caused you to seek out Emily and strength training and 5x3?
Well, in general, the reason that I sought out strength training, there are a couple of reasons. One is for health, because I know that strength training is good for maintaining bone health. and also for maintaining muscle mass, which you begin to lose muscle actually before you even hit middle age.
Yeah.
And I wanted to try to slow both of those processes down if possible. The reason that I sought out your gym is that my daughter, who lives in Colorado, who is an ultra runner, yoga teacher, and ski patroller, has been training for several years at a gym with a similar philosophy.
Right.
And she is actually the person who found 5x3 and steered me in that direction.
Yeah, I remember the email from you, and it was, my daughter did some research and found you. I'm interested in coming in. I was like, yes, I like this.
So that's excellent. That's really cool. So a lot of that, I guess, like you recognized for yourself that there were valuable qualities to strength training that you wanted to incorporate in your life.
Yeah.
And you were open to that information from your daughter. I guess a lot of times we hear about people who want to get their parents involved in strength training, and there's like more resistance. Like, did you have any mental hurdles that you had to get over before you were like, okay, I'll do barbell training? I mean, it's quite different from ultramarathon.
No, and I think I had been thinking about it for a while. I never had done any regular strength training in the past. I'd belonged to a gym for a couple of years, but that was it had some coaching there, but that was it was more with machines, not free weights.
That was that was actually going to be one of my questions. Was because you were thinking about bone density and loss of muscle mass. I was wondering if you'd ever done any kind of weight training in the past before coming to
not
the barbell
not
training.
to speak of. No.
So I guess, was it more just as you got older, starting to think more and more about muscle loss and bone loss?
Yes.
Prior to, so was that the past year, past couple years, or?
I probably two things. I mean, one is thinking about those things, and the other is the fact that I'm not working full time anymore. So now I have time, or felt that I had time to do those things.
A new hobby.
Yes, that's right.
Are you did you just retire, or how long have you been retired now?
It's been, I stopped my practice 3 years ago and kind of gradually cut down. And then 2 years ago, went to just working occasional weekends.
Gotcha.
So,
because I think you mentioned something about work and I was wondering if you were still doing. So I guess you're doing a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Was did your daughter? Because I know you have 2 daughters and a son. Your daughter in Colorado, did she start running as a result of you and your interest? And because I know she's a big runner too, as well. She had a race recently.
Yeah, she actually started running in high school. Actually, all my kids ran in high school. I think my younger daughter started because her sister was running. Her older sister was running, and she thought it would be a good way to get to know people. And then she just kind of got hooked with the running.
Nice. And your daughter now, the one in Colorado trains, so she does strength training. I know your son was at the gym today with you.
Yeah.
And he was doing some strength training. Does your daughter, who lives here in Maryland, is she still running? Does she do?
She's running and biking and doing yoga.
Okay. So,
she's not doing any strength training. Haven't talked her into that
yet. Slowly.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what have you noticed since you've been training with us? So I think it's been, we had November. So November is when we started, and then we had 2.5 months off because of the shutdown. But prior to the shutdown, between November and I guess beginning of March, what had you noticed about any changes in your body, in your endurance, in your stamina? Were you also running at the time and doing yoga while you were training?
Yes, I was running and I was still doing yoga. I think I didn't have any low back pain. which I had periodically, probably related to, lifting things that I shouldn't have been lifting in a way that I wasn't supposed to be lifting them. And then I think my endurance improved. My legs didn't get as tired when I was running for a given distance. So
Nice.
I did notice
So-
some differences.
Can you give a picture then of what your weekly exercise would be like prior to starting strength training, and then once you started strength training, what would a regular week entail?
Well, most days I would run, almost all days, at least 5 miles, occasionally longer. And the yoga is kind of intermittent at this point. But I was probably doing yoga. I was trying to do yoga at least 3 times a week.
And then once you started with strength training, how many days a week are you doing that? And has that influenced the number of runs that you take per week, or how do you incorporate both?
Well, I've been strength training 2 days a week, and I don't usually run on those days. Then I usually will run the other days. And then yoga here and there right now. I haven't quite settled back into a routine with the changes in the, with all the schedule changes and all, not being able to do yoga in person. I'm not comfortable going into a yoga studio where people are not wearing masks and are in a room that's not well ventilated. So.
Were you also doing yoga, Martha, prior to beginning the strength training while you were running too?
Yes. Yeah.
And were you doing that? Did you feel that was a good complement to your running to kind of keep you limber, or what was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, it's also strengthening. So
yeah.
Strengthening and flexibility is my feeling about yoga. Yeah.
You got a nice balance there between the yoga, the strength training, and the running. I think that's hard for many people to kind of find that balance, even when they're working, and also even when they're not working.
Yeah.
I think it's just trying to kind of find that balance. Yeah. One thing you mentioned, and we didn't have that talk, I just realized when you first started with us, was you quickly realized the days that you trained, you couldn't run on those days as well. And many people don't think about that. They don't think that my running is going to interfere with my strength training, which it does, not the other way around. We have to have that talk. Rebecca and I talked about that recently on one of our podcasts. We had to have that talk with people about trying to find a balance between your conditioning, the activities that you enjoy doing, and the strength training, because people were finding that they were coming into the gym to train and they were feeling tired, or their legs were hurt or sore, or something was wrong. And we'd ask them, well, what are you doing when you're not here? Oh, I'm doing this. And then today I did this before I came to the gym. And we didn't have that talk. I just realized you were I never heard you complain or mention it being tired when you came in to train.
Yeah. But you did mention that very early on.
Okay, maybe I did. Okay.
You did.
Well, it's stuck.
You did not leave it out.
It's just a routine mention, and it's stuck.
I guess it must have stuck because
makes sense.
I've said that to people in the past, and it hasn't stuck. And I've had to have the talk over and over again, with people, because the idea is that people want to do more. They want to keep doing as much as they can for whatever, it's for this reason, that reason, this reason. So, but we never had that. I guess if I had that talk with you, it was early on, and I never mentioned it again because there was
just a quick study.
It was early. It was early.
Okay, good.
Well, I like to keep a balance. I'm not trying to break any records, or I think that just doing things in moderation is reasonable. I would run more, I guess, if I was training for a race at this point, but I'm not. But otherwise, I just like to do what I think is a good amount without injuring myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that when you go to Colorado, you manage to still get a couple sessions in when you're visiting your daughter there.
Yeah.
That's, that's really nice as a coach to know that you're, but also I think it's important for you to stay consistent.
Yeah, well, I try to be, if I undertake something, if I commit to something, I like to, you know, to meet the commitment. Um,
I can tell.
So what do you like most about strength training?
um,
It's pretty different from running. I mean, I'm going to ask you
yeah,
what you like about running
yeah,
also.
yeah.
I expect it'll be a pretty different answer.
One runner to another.
Well, I think one thing I've learned, I've enjoyed is just I like to do new things and learn new things, and I think that's always a challenge. And uh, so I've enjoyed learning how to do things correctly. And it's interesting to me, how important the form is with the different lifts that I do, and generally telling me for the thousandth time very patiently what I should be doing, my hips and my knees. Um, so that's been satisfying, and feeling that I'm getting stronger, and my core is stronger, my legs are stronger, and I've also enjoyed the atmosphere of the gym and the other people I've met, the other older ladies who lift at the same time. I've enjoyed getting to know them a little bit, and chatting with them.
So yeah, I think that's
been
one thing
fun.
about 5x3 that's really cool. Like, so can you describe that group of ladies for people who aren't familiar with it? Because I think that is that is a really cool thing about 5x3. Like,
Yeah.
tell us about this group.
Yeah, so there's a group of three, four or five of us who are of a similar age. Everybody has gray hair, and everybody, we come in and chat about politics, and luckily everyone's sort of in the same mind, um, and grandchildren, and then everybody does their own thing. Spot for each other on the bench press.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a nice group of people.
Yeah, they definitely. When you're not there, I hear, "Where's Martha? Where's Martha? Why
I
isn't she
need a
here?"
spotter.
I have to. The minute they walk in the door, they'll look around to see who's there and who's not there, and they'll ask immediately, and I'll have to explain. Well, she's on vacation now, or she switched to the evening, or But they know who's there. They know the days, they know the times, and they miss each other. Like
Yeah.
that's a big part of it. I think you're absolutely right. I know Susan and Deb have said that. I mean, if it wasn't for you or my mom or, Pauline, who's there, it wouldn't be as enjoyable. Even though you do your own thing and you're on your own rack, there's just the sense of I'm here with a group of other people who look like me, know me, know what we've gone through, kind of.
Yeah.
And it makes for a more enjoyable training experience. Yeah.
It's also fun to see the great variety of, people, the ages and body types and all.
Absolutely.
Everybody, and they're, getting stronger.
Absolutely.
Which is fun.
So, like, coming from a running background myself, like, one of the things that was a difficult adjustment for me initially was this rest time in between sets. Like, with endurance exercise, you're used to moving all the time. And like, what I'm hearing when you're describing this group of women that you lift with is they give you something fun to do when you're supposed to be resting. It makes the experience more enjoyable instead of standing around tapping your foot going, shouldn't I be doing something? Shouldn't I be doing something?
No, you're waiting 3 minutes, and all of a sudden you realize you've been talking for 8 minutes. Whatever.
Yeah, it's sort of like you go from one extreme to the other, standing around waiting, like, really, it's got to have been 3 minutes by now, to the point where you have to set your timer to make sure you're not doing 10 minutes.
I had to remind Martha this morning. She finished her top set of squats, and then I saw her change the weight and immediately go into the next set. I was like, whoa. She said, how was that? I said, they were good. I could have waited a few more minutes. It might have been a little bit better if it felt a little hard. And you were like, oh, right. I just went right into my next set. I was like, yeah, I would have waited, but it's okay. It's okay. But the rest time. Did you find that was difficult in the beginning with having to rest between sets and wanting to kind of just like keep going? Because I guess I as a runner, I mean, I I wasn't a big runner. I ran, quote unquote, but I didn't, I never raced or never trained as a runner. That's a good question for Rebecca. Was that difficult to transition from kind of going to needing
or just
to actually
what
stop?
other transitions, what other, adjustments did you have to make in approach to training?
I think it was a little bit, you have to kind of think about it at first, but now you appreciate I appreciate the wait time, the rest time. You can tell the difference if you don't rest long enough. So, any other adjustments from running? Not really. I mean, I sweat, so I always feel like you need to sweat if you're exercising.
Yeah.
But it's just totally different because you're in one place. You're not moving and seeing things. But it's a different aspect of exercise. Yeah. But it's fun to do something different. So.
Well, I think it's in your case, you have this other sport that that is, what you love. So the strength training is what drives that other sport to feeling better. Your legs feel stronger, your endurance is better. So, you're training for your sport. You're also just training to kind of, live your life longer. You're retired now. You've got more free time. You've got grandchildren to play with. I know my mom has much more energy than she had, years ago. And she's got Rose, who, although she's only talking to her through a phone, she keeps her on the phone for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So her brain is a little bit mush, but, but still she's very physical when she does see her in person, and she can keep up with her, she'll play tag with her. And then of course, so do you find that with your grandchildren, you have, that the energy is better, and you have, more attention can be paid to them?
I think so. Yeah. And they're getting bigger, so I have to be able to pick them up still as they gain weight.
Yeah, I know Jack used to do these flying leaps off of their stairs in their house, and you just turn around and he's coming at you.
Oh, gosh.
and I would just catch him, and my mom would catch him. I mean, he's going to be 13 now, so hopefully he doesn't do that anymore. But
Hopefully he's outgrown that.
Launches himself, off on you. I have a question in regards to coaching. So as a runner, were you coached as a runner? Did you have a running coach, or have you kind of been your own coach? And how is that different, getting coaching from someone with strength training?
So I've never had a running coach other than my daughter.
Okay.
So, but that's, she doesn't really coach me, but she has a running coach, and that made difference of not being able to finish and being able to finish a 100-mile race for her. But in terms of the strength training, I felt very strongly that I needed a coach because I didn't want to learn, do something wrong and injure myself. And I've been so appreciative of the precision of the coaching in terms of just the small, the detail of observation and corrective suggestions, which have made a huge difference. It's amazing how just a slight change in something that you're doing can make you feel so different in terms of doing a lift. So I feel I have a lot of confidence in you all as coaches that you're going to get me one way or the other, get me to the right form so that I can not hurt myself and can progress.
Right. I like that you feel confident enough in yourself too to go to your daughter's gym when you visit her in Colorado and train yourself, knowing that, okay, I feel independent enough, and I have this voice in my head reminding me to push my knees out, reminding me to keep my elbows forward. So that always makes us feel good. I know Rebecca and I feel good when we hear of our clients traveling and training and then getting compliments sometimes on their form. It just means that, you have confidence in yourself, that you feel independent to do that. And that's huge, because we don't want to have to hold your hand all the time. Coach's responsibility is just there to kind of remind you, to keep you on track, to help you with your programming, but not to, not to kind of hold your hand through every single step of the way. They always say, I hear your voice in my head. So
Yeah.
I hear my own voice in my head when I'm lifting myself. You've mentioned that your back doesn't bother you anymore. You want to talk a little bit about that? Were you having back pain? Was it inconsistent? Was it consistent? Was it during, was it just recently, or what have you noticed in regards to your back?
I think I just had some intermittent discomfort, possibly relating to running a lot of miles or picking somebody up the wrong way or something like that. Nothing chronic, but almost as soon as I started the strength training, it just stopped. Mm. So I think that's partly from the core strengthening, and also from maybe learning better, lifting hygiene, if you want to call it that.
Right.
I like that term.
I like that. That's huge. I mean, to kind of, I don't think people really get that. The whole, because we all live with some type of back pain. I mean, Rebecca and I talk about this all the time, and there's so many articles on back pain, and that something as simple as just starting to move your body and use your back. I think that's the key. People's back pain will go away if they learn how to use their back better. And the one way to do that is through strength training. It forces you to make the back work. The back wants to work.
Yeah.
And if it's not working properly, like you said, picking up things wrong, or it's not doing anything at all, it's going to start to feel bad. I mean, we are upright. We do walk upright.
Yeah.
As much as Diego says he wishes we all walked on all fours, still, because it'd be a lot easier. But I think that's really the key. Our backs are not made of glass. And I think people fear that if we use it, if we deadlift or if we squat, we're going to break our backs. But that's the whole point of doing that, is to make our backs stronger. Like, our backs want to be strong. So you need to bear weight in order to, it's kind of like, you have to do this in order to get stronger so that the back doesn't break. And then people tell you, but if you do that, your back's going to break. And there are also very confusing messages too, I think.
Yeah.
In regards to that. So when I hear people say, my back just doesn't hurt anymore, I know that happened with me, but it's great to hear that, that other people have experienced that too.
I mean, I guess, Marty, you're built more like a distance runner than I am. I always had more issues with my knees than with my back from running, but I mean, that's like my leg structure.
Yeah.
So, your knees were all fine with running.
Yeah. I mean, I've been lucky. I've never had any serious injuries from running.
I had an injury this last weekend, just like in my garage. crap piled up, fell over on me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I could do that anyway.
Yeah, you've never complained about your knees. I've never heard you mention your knees at all while we were training. And you have incredible upper body strength. Martha has great upper body strength.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. I mean, that's why I'm always like amazed, because you're a runner, but your upper body strength is, you're benching, you're pressing, it's through the roof. It's, it's fantastic. So it's and everything is just, it's been really cool to see you come back from the lockdown and get back to the weights that where we were before. And you're just surpassing those, like flying, just like it's flying colors. It's just, just over and beyond where that was. So that's, I always like seeing that, like the strength that you maintained carried over, and now you're building even more strength, because lifts look so different than when you did them even, prior to the lockdown. And a lot of that is just learning the lifts.
Yeah.
Learning how to perform them.
Yeah. I feel like my form is a lot better than it was before at the time that I stopped.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is because there's so much thinking that goes on, and sometimes you have to just stop, not think about it, and then you start something up again, and you forgot that you had to think about all of that before, and you just start to kind of do it. Your body just automatically does something, and then I can give you a new cue, and it also then it clicks because you're not thinking as much anymore. But yeah, no, it's quite impressive, and just doing twice a week. I mean, I think if you're doing 3 times a week, where you'd be.
Don't tempt me.
I know.
Just dangle that out there.
I know that little carrot. Do you find, because you train Wednesdays and Fridays. Do you find that one day in between is just enough for you to recover?
Probably just enough.
Just enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason that we manage your program the way we do. And we're kind of adjusting it and tweaking it to simply make sure that can you recover from Wednesday to Friday? Because that day in between I think it is just enough. I think 2 days would be ideal, but
yeah.
What do you do on that day in between? Is that a rest day, or is it like
I usually run.
Like a shorter run, or
it depends on how my legs feel.
Like LSD, the long, slow distance.
Yeah. Everything's long right now. Slow right now. In the heat. So,
it's the care.
But when the fall comes and it cools off a little bit, then I'll know. So
what to do. Are there any other points that you'd like to talk about? Any that we haven't touched on? The questions that we haven't asked that you really were like, this is what I think about. This is why I love doing this. This is why I think people should do this. I've asked some of my interviewees. I've asked, if you could sell this to other women, your age, what would be the selling point? Like, why should they do this?
Well, I think a really important reason to do it, it's the kind of thing that you're not going to know from a physical standpoint, is about the health benefits, the bone health and the strength. But also I think that people will feel better if they improve their strength. You see a lot of people, especially people with back pain. They have very weak cores, abdominal muscles. It's something that don't go have back surgery. Do physical therapy, do strength training, do something non-invasive to get your body back in the shape that it should be in.
Do you know, other than the women that you train with, do you have friends or do you see people who, you wish you could kind of talk into this, talk them into doing this, or, have you talked to people about it? Have people asked you, what do you do, Martha? Why, you run and you do this. What is strength training? What is this that you're doing?
The people, I would see people, I guess, at yoga, and so they're usually in pretty good shape. And I'm not practicing medicine. I don't have a practice, where I see individual patients on my own, but there are certainly lots of people out there that could use this.
So, like, listening to you talk, it sounds like some of the, you're aware of the health benefits. You had family members who were encouraging you and did some research for you and kind of pushed you in a direction. You found a community of similar lifters that's enjoyable to spend time with. I mean, it's not a close community. You drive a bit to get there. I think about half an hour to get to the gym and half an hour home. So it's a little bit of a time commitment, and maybe that's a factor for people if they're not retired. But I'm wondering what, you sort of had a nudge in the direction of barbell training because of family and because of being connected with a community of like-minded lifters. But what do you think could help other people in a similar situation to you kind of get to the point where they're like, yeah, barbell training is what I need to do. That's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess education,
Mm-hmm.
education outreach, just kind of try to keep letting people, especially older people, know the benefits.
Yeah, I guess that's what I did back in January, at my talk. I wish, I was scheduled to have something in November. In May, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah, and
canceled my
like for
talk.
people who don't know what you mean about the talk, like Emily went to through one of the public library systems and did a presentation.
I was there.
She came up to my talk. She didn't need to be there, but she came up to my talk. Yeah, so that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get in front of people and educate, kind of give them an idea of like what it is and what it looks like. It doesn't start just with a barbell either. It doesn't have to. It can start with machines. It can start with just your own body weight. And it doesn't have to be at 5x3. It can be at the racquetball club with Rebecca. It can be at a private gym with somebody. But I think strength training it should be more than, we talked about this in the last podcast, more than just silver sneakers. Sitting in a chair doing dumbbell curls. That was it undermines what older people really are capable of doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you are a runner. You do ultra marathons. I mean, it's, Jan, we haven't seen Jan for a while, but Jan is in absolutely great physical shape too. And it's because she's active. She walks, but she also paints. She's active in the community. And that's a huge part of it, is just being around other people and doing as much as you can, so I don't know what's going to happen the next few months with everything with the virus, how much education we can do.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why I'm thinking that maybe at least we can start the podcast. Rebecca.
Yeah, there you go. Just keep talking to people.
She did get a client as a result of our podcast, and it's an older gentleman in his 60s who came and visited me because he wants to come by and do some work with us when he can. So we can reach people. So this is one of those ways to educate.
Yeah.
Have you had any bone density scans done recently? Did you have one prior to? Did you have one prior to coming to the gym, or have you ever scheduled one?
I had one several years ago. Yeah. So I had.
I was going to say, do you have one scheduled? Are you going to think of maybe getting one scheduled in the future? And
probably in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still have your results from that last one?
I do have the results. Yeah. So I had osteopenia, and then I had osteoporosis in one hand. So definitely there had been a change from the one before. So
Gotcha.
That was another thing that kind of pushed me toward, doing everything I could to try to slow things down. I don't expect to get any faster, but I would like to flatten the curve in terms of getting slower, and the same with the bones. To try to slow down the thinning of the bones.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to compare the two results because Jan had osteopenia before she started training, and she doesn't have that anymore. And Susan has osteoporosis, but it's stable. It hasn't changed, and that's been since she started. So it's
So we'll just have to be patient and wait a couple of years, I guess.
That's okay. We'll still be here.
I don't want to do any unnecessary medical tests.
We'll still be here. Well, I feel like I've kind of addressed everything that I
learned lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Martha, you do these amazing things. I didn't realize.
I just can't believe I didn't realize you had done an ultra marathon right before you started training.
Yeah. Well, my plan after I do this ultra marathon, then the next thing I'm going to do is strength training.
It's
I would think the next thing would be like take a nap.
Well, not immediately.
we have a gentleman coming in on September 5th. He's coming in for a couple sessions, just some one-on-one sessions. He emailed us and I said, thanks for your email. How can I help you? He said, I'm 47. I'm an ultra marathoner. And I've decided to stop running for a time and devote myself to doing a strength training program.
Wow.
Diego's like this. And actually, before he even emailed me that, of course, Diego always looks people up when he gets. So he looked this guy up. He sent me a text, goes, he's an ultra marathoner. This should be interesting. And then I get the email saying, hi, I'm an ultra marathoner. Yeah. So Diego's looking forward to talking to him and asking him, hey, what made you decide to do this? So he's been doing this on his own for a couple months and wants to come in for some form checks. Huh. So it'll be interesting to meet him. And I didn't tell Rebecca this, but your daughter, so Martha's daughter in Colorado had a race recently, and it was still on. And how long was it? Was it a 10 miler or a 15 mile?
It was
maybe longer than that.
It was, gosh. It was 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers. Yes. It was long.
It was long. So this is like mother, like daughter. She tells Martha she gets food poisoning like the day before the race.
Oh no.
And she says to her, and Martha's like, are you going to do the race? And the next day she did it. She said she felt okay. And she was slower on the downhill?
The downhills.
The downhill. Yeah. She finished the whole race.
Because she got terrible abdominal cramps. She ran fast.
Oh my gosh.
So it just goes to show you that where the apples fall, like they're just like mother, like daughter. Like I can totally see Martha doing that. Yeah. That was great. I was like, oh, yes, I like this woman. I bet I'd like her. I mean, I already like her because she sent you to us, but I like her even more because she's like, oh, I feel a little bit better. I think I'm really
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I trained. I should be fine.
I was a little slower. She was like flying past people, even in that stage.
She passed a lot more people than passed her. Yeah. So.
And then I actually read a couple days later, it was. And she said she had salmonella poisoning, right? Was that what she had? Yes.
Yeah.
That there was a recall on onions.
Yes.
And one of the states was Colorado.
Yes.
And it was from salmonella poisoning. And I was like, I gotta tell Martha this. And then it went out of my head. But
yeah, I actually asked her about that, and she said, well, she might have had some onions.
She might have had some. I thought so.
Yeah.
I bet you she had some onions. Well, this is great. Like Rebecca said, I learned a lot. Thank you so much for doing this and speaking with us today.
Yeah.
This is great. We're looking forward to doing a couple more interviews with some other athletes, but we thought you'd be the first one to go.
Okay.
And it'll be a nice.
Thanks for joining us.
A nice follow up to the other podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, Martha. Really appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Take care.
I'll see you Friday.
Okay.
Bye. Thanks for listening to 5x3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5x3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's F-I-V-E, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.